Okay, guys, so do you remember in my first video when I said, like, I'm done letting the pedophiles tell me who to be mad at? Like, I genuinely, I mean, I don't know about everyone else, but I'm sure I can speak for all of the non-pedophiles, or I guess we can call them PDF files, you know, because who knows what YouTube's gonna do. But for all of us non-PDF files, I think I speak for all of us. Actually, I know I speak for all of us when I say we're done letting the PDF files tell me who to vote for. I'm done letting them tell me who to be mad at next. Okay, so here's a new trend. And I call it a trend because I'm seeing it, it seems to be commonplace now. And things I'm starting to notice, and I want to mention it because I'm kind of questioning it, but I'm also kind of wanting to get this out there in case nobody else is noticing it. But I'm starting to notice that we go through these cycles of people or entities or countries or certain groups that, like, all of a sudden we're supposed to be mad at, or we're supposed to not like, or they're doing something wrong, or they're satanic, or they're stealing from us, or they're stealing our jobs. I mean, like, whatever, you know, they're committing fraud, whatever narrative they have come up with this time. The end result is that we are supposed to not like them. I seen it in the Hispanic community during, like, the Trump campaign and everything like that. I seen it. I mean, let's be honest, that's been a narrative that's been going on for a long time. It wasn't just Trump. He was just piggybacking off of a issue that's been going on. So I guess I'm not trying to just be like, oh, it was only Trump. No, but more recently, that was where we saw it happen at. And then after that, it was the Somali community with all the fraud. Now, in my opinion, do I think that there are some people within that community that don't have good intentions and you know, maybe deserve some justice coming their way? Absolutely. But with that being said, I believe that for every single community, mine included. Nobody's perfect, and some people are outright awful, and some of them are even outright evil, to be honest with you. Like, just evil. And there's no better way to, there's no other way to say it. But that's every community. I mean, if you look at any community, there isn't a single community where there isn't somebody, or even multiple somebodies, that are engaged in unethical, deplorable, even behavior. I mean, it just is. That's just the truth. So, I don't know. Until somebody can find me, I'm gonna put you guys up here because my arm's getting tired. Off my rant. Been ranting so long. It's only been, what, 4 minutes? But I don't like this angle because it makes me look like I have a double chin. Maybe I do have a double chin. Maybe I need to lose some weight. It's just the angle, guys. Definitely just the angle. As I show you my big old belly. Whatever. I'm gonna leave it like that. I'll be crooked for the rest of the... Let's try this. Let me move you guys. Right. Put you on my steering wheel. There we go. That works. So yeah, you find me a community that has everybody in it is 100% perfect, and I'll change my mind. But until then, that's my stance on it. So back to what I was talking about. Sorry to get distracted. Yeah, I'm sure that there is people, obviously, in the Somali community that, like I said, just like any other community deserve justice. Okay? It is what it is. However, does anybody else notice that whenever there's all of a sudden this group that it's like the headline in everyone's video? I mean, even like Nick Shirley. Let's take him for example. Do I believe that he like hopped on the train and ran with it and just like decided to look into all of these Somali communities? Yes and no. So I have no proof of this. This is just my personal speculation, opinion, whatever you want to call it. But the fact that he this was already being talked about, like the fraud and everything, there was kind of whispers about it. There was like the whole feeding our children scandal. And then there was, some topics about like the daycares and stuff. People were starting to talk about it, but it wasn't really until he came to Minnesota and then went around doing his reporting journalism that it really blew up. And it blew up in a way where like he wasn't just getting a lot more views, but I mean, he was on Sean Ryan. He was at the White House. He went to speak in the House. I believe it was the House for Congress, something like that. So I mean, he went from being just an everyday journalist to all of a sudden being roped into a group of people. And I believe also too, you're starting to notice, if you haven't already, Cam Higbee, another one. He was, going on to campuses similar to Charlie Kirk, and now all of a sudden he's at every controversial riot or protest or whatever. He's going undercover because he knows that there's people who don't agree with him. Do I believe that he should be attacked? No, absolutely not. Do I believe he has a right to go around and ask people questions or even film what is happening? Absolutely, I do. Do I also believe that it's bigger than him? Absolutely. Especially when he's, again, going to the White House. He's talking with political leaders. All of it. So it gets to a point where you start to notice that people, and I'm not going to say they came from absolutely like no followers or nothing. Obviously, they were already starting to build up a platform. But you start to notice that it really starts to skyrocket after a narrative that this administration wants to push out there. They start talking about Somali fraud. All of a sudden, Nick Shirley comes here. And next thing you know, now he's going to California. Now is he even going out and doing like journalism anymore? It was like he did it that one time, and then now he's like going on podcasts and talk shows. It's like he became famous overnight. And good for him. I'm not, this is not me knocking, good for you, buddy. Like, for real. That's great. But my personal opinion is that like somebody is like, you talk about handlers and stuff. I don't know if he has a handler, but I could imagine, somebody calling him up and saying, hey, you should really come cover this Somali fraud. And, we'll make things happen for you. You get to meet the president and, we're going to, like I said, make things happen. So I don't think it's a coincidence. And I think they like to use people like Nick Shirley and Cam Higbee who seem relatable, because they're young and they're out here, they're boots on the ground. Looks like they're doing the dirty work that no one else wants to do, right? Because I think they're starting, they know that their time on mainstream media is coming to an end. They know that the time is running out, okay? Like, for example, they had Laura Ingraham for like probably leaving her office in Fox News for like the first time in years. They actually had her trying to do real journalism where she's out there asking has her microphone, she's out there asking questions. Because I think that they know that they want real journalism again. Like, that was what that was. It wasn't just, you turn on the TV and someone's sitting in a chair and reading off a teleprompter what they're being forced to tell you, what their lawyers and everybody has already looked through and sifted through and whatever they're trying to get you to believe, the way they want to spin things for you. No, people used to go out. I mean, look it up. I was watching journalists like in the early 1900s, 1920s, 1930s. They would go out on the streets with a microphone and ask people their opinion on like a radio. That was radio. That was how you got your news. People go around and do that. And it was real time. It was live. So it was in person. And I think people know that. And Fox knows that, and CNN knows that. They know that when a certain generation we all know the generation. I don't have to say it. We all know what generation I'm talking about. Once they are gone, nobody else is watching mainstream. I mean, we know now. Like, we know that what they're saying is literally just what they want you to hear. It's not actual news anymore. Let's be real. So I believe, of course, it was refreshing to see someone like Nick Shirley go out, boots on the ground, and ask people these questions and all of that, right? And I'm sure that he will still continue to do that. I hope that he's safe. I understand it's a really hard job. I can't imagine being threatened the way that he has. Same for Cam Higbee. Okay? But with that being said, now that they are, starting, like I said, it's like you start to notice they're posting pictures of themselves, making fun of governors, and like, Shirley's like, oh, I got Walz to quit, and Cam Higbee is, it went from being like journalism of like just trying to hear from the people to clearly they've picked a side. It's like you can tell they've clearly picked a side. And despite seeing evidence of maybe not wanting to be on that side, and just so we're clear, I want to clear the air. Just so we're clear, I'm not on a side. I'm not on a side. I'm on neither side. I don't see myself ever picking a side ever again. I have picked sides in the past. I actually picked both. That's why I have an opinion on both. I have voted left. I have voted right. I have thought one way and then thought the other. And ultimately came to the same conclusion that they're both liars, and this world, as Candace would say it, is fake and gay. It's fake and gay. All of it. Okay? So, with that being said, now that the air is clear, go back to what I was saying, it is very obvious that they've now picked these sides. It doesn't matter if anybody gives any type of like deferring opinion, it's like you can tell it's not allowed by the way that they respond. I guess I can't say specifically for Nick Shirley, but Cam Higbee seems to be a little bit more vocal about people that disagree with his, if you disagree with Trump, or if you disagree with ICE in any way, it's like he feels compelled to like condemn you, or like be like, no, you're a problem, and make fun of you and whatever. So, whatever. But yeah, I've started to notice that there is this drive, this push every once in a while to, actually not every once in a while, it's all the time. It's just, the person changes. There's always somebody to hate. It's just a new person to hate, or a new community. And what I'm not understanding is how people aren't, I mean, it's happened. How are we not noticing this? How are we not? That's why I'm like, you guys, I don't care who they tell me to be mad at. Now, all of a sudden, it's Israel. We're supposed to be mad at Israel. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I agree with them. And I need to be careful with my words here. I need to be very careful. And that's one of the problems, is because when people talk about Philadelphia, they, bad things happen sometimes, apparently. Allegedly. I don't know. So that's one of the reasons why people are saying that you should be mad at them or not like them or not on their side, okay? Another reason, because of what's going on in Gaza. I just want to say, genocide is wrong always, 100% of the time. 100% of the time. Doesn't matter who is doing the killing. War is completely unnecessary. Defending yourself shouldn't have to be a thing. Like, people talk about, people are defending themselves. Yes, absolutely. You should. I'm not suggesting that if you're being attacked that you just take it because it's wrong to harm another human being in self-defense. I'm not suggesting that. Of course, every life is valuable and precious because we are God's children. We are very valuable and precious people and beings, all of us. But that's still tragic. If somebody dies because of self-defense, I'm not celebrating that. I'm not happy about that. It's wrong. It shouldn't have happened. They shouldn't have been doing what they were doing to put themselves in a position where they ended up dying because somebody had to react in self-defense. That's why I said war is just wrong. It's unnecessary. Why are we starting wars? Why are we retaliating in wars? Why is this happening? Those are the questions that we need to start asking. The problem is that when we start asking those questions, people start being called names. They start being shut down. Words like anti-Semite or racist or, what agitator, whatever you want to call it, start being thrown around. It's not wrong to ask those kind of questions, to say, like, why are we doing this? Why are children dying? Why are children being taken to random islands and being sacrificed, cut up and whatever? I mean, I haven't looked into all the files, so I don't really want to talk about the EP files right now, because that's a whole another subject that's just, it's hard to talk about for me. I mean, I've seen some of the stuff and it just, it makes my stomach hurt. It's absolutely, it's awful. It's vile. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, why is that? That's wrong. It's wrong. All of it's wrong. So with that being said, though, I get where the being anti-Israel or being questionable of Israel is coming from. My question isn't whether or not we should be questioning them or upset with them or not on their side or whatever. That's not my question. My question is everybody else noticing that, at least in my echo chamber, is everybody else noticing that they seem to be the target? Like I said, we go through these cycles. Okay, more recently it was the illegal immigrants, right? Then Somali immigrants and even the Somali community. Okay? Now it's Israel. People are tying them into the EP files. People are tying them to Gaza. People are tying them to, censorship. So here's my question. If if what I said was to be true, that I'm not going to allow the PDF files to tell me who to be mad at, tell me who I should support or not support, wouldn't that include then Israel, right? So here I am. Here I am observing. And that's what I'm going to say from here on out. I refuse to call out or condemn or definitively say that we should be upset with any group, whether it's a country or a community or a race or a person. I'm not going to do it, because that's what we see. That's, first of all, I think that's the problem. And that's not to say that there aren't, like I said, there are people, and there are people within communities that certainly should be called out. And if there is definitive evidence, like I seen you, like firsthand experience, I saw you push this. Like, for example, let's just talk about this. The ICE agent that shoved that woman, 100% wrong. And if you're watching this, if you ever see this by some chance, I want you to know you're wrong. That was wrong. Would you push your mother like that? Would you push your sister like that? How would you feel if someone pushed your daughter like that? I mean, where are we at in society where grown men can just shove a woman? Like fling her. Come on now. You know, that's so, like, there's certain things that, like, I seen that with my own eyes. That was wrong. If you want to argue with me about that, we can go all day on that. It was wrong. I'm not going to change my mind on it. You're not going to convince me to change my mind on it. It was wrong. Okay? So, but broadly speaking, I just don't have it in me to just be like, oh, well, when I see people start jumping on this bandwagon of be anti-Israel, they're the problem, you know, the Jews, they're calling, you know, you notice that they're like, that's all you see. And that's the other thing too, like the timing and when these EP files came out. Start to notice the timing of things. That's another thing. Like, we have influencers like Nick Fuentes picking up support, right? And he's constantly questioning the Jewish community and saying that they are trying to attack us in several different kind of ways, or that they shouldn't be trusted for whatever reason, and they're against us and whatever, okay? So you have that, and then you have other you have people like Candace questioning Israel as well. Not necessarily the Jewish community, but just their country and the person running it. And that's not to say that I am condemning any of these people. I'm just saying it's something I've noticed. And then you have other people as well joining in and saying, you know, what is going on with Philadelphia, right? What is the deal with that? But it just seemed, that's why I said, notice the timing. You see all these people talking about it, and it starts to get people conditioned to being like, oh yeah, we should, well, that is weird, or maybe I don't like that, or whatever. We're making jokes about it. We're being crude about it. And then all of a sudden, boom, they finally release the files. All this time goes by, right? We're saying, release the files, no files released. Now all of a sudden they release the files, and what's one of the talking points about the files? It's that Philadelphia's involved, and, you know, EP is talking about, calling everybody a goyim or whatever. And that means like you're not a Jew and you're a white person. So you don't get to enjoy in the things that we do, or you're not a part of, we don't care what happens to you, whatever. So it's just this you see them. And of course, if that is true, which I believe it is in the files, that's what we're seeing. Yes, like I said, there are people within certain communities that are awful, deplorable, evil even. But leave it to that person. Leave it to those individuals. People are starting to make it out about Jews as a whole and trying to make it seem like they all feel that way about people who are non-Jew. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to who they tell you to dislike. Pay attention to who they're telling you to be upset at. Pay attention. Because if it's not the Jews today, it'll be the immigrants tomorrow, and it'll be the Somalis after that, and then who knows who it'll be after that. But you know who it never is? That's what gets me. You know who it never is? It's never the American government. Right? It's never them. It's anybody but them. You ever notice that? Couldn't be them. We all watched ICE literally just murder 2 people. And that's not controversial. If you think that that's controversial, again, like I said, this is not the channel for you. This is a high IQ channel. We all have eyeballs. We all saw the video. If you watch that and you think that's anything other than murder, you seriously need to go and do some reevaluation. Okay? If you guys want me to do a video breaking down both of those instances and giving my opinion as to why I believe what I believe, I will happily do so. But I feel like there's enough of that already. Like there's literally 500 people or more making those exact videos. But like if you really want my take on it, I will do it. Like I said, I just don't feel like it's necessary. I think that there's plenty of enough information out there for me to make that determination without doing that. And if, other people don't agree with me, that's fine. I'm entitled to my opinion. But yeah, we have that going on, and then they try to cover it up, and I still haven't seen anybody prosecuted. I haven't seen anybody in handcuffs. We have these EP files out, and there's people named in them that are still walking around with no problem. Don't like that. But yeah, let's not focus on that at all. Let's focus on Israel now. Now that everybody's over the Somali fraud, let's not talk about who is implicated in these files. Let's talk about how Epstein was, anti-white people or anti-Gentile, anti-Gentile. Let's talk about that. That's what I'm saying. I'm sick and tired of being an honest person, getting up, going to work, doing what I'm supposed to do, paying taxes, right? Just to be lied to. I mean, at least I can see through that now. That's why I said it's a pattern. If it's not Israel today, it'll be someone else tomorrow. There will always be somebody to be mad at so that we're not mad at the government. 100%. So until we start realizing that, and then that's another thing. They want us to be mad at each other. I believe that they genuinely thought that the whole Charlie Kirk thing, I mean, what a coincidence. What a coincidence that it was a person of the LGBTQ plus community who's dating a trans furry. What a coincidence that that's who killed Charlie Kirk, right? I mean, you couldn't have a more perfect plot. I mean, it's almost too perfect. It's so perfect that it's questionable. It's like, really? Also, did anybody else notice that this happened right after the Annunciation shooting with the trans shooter? And do you notice how, like, nobody talks about that? Like, that was, when that happened, when the Annunciation shooting of those sweet, beautiful, innocent children happened, it was like all you heard about. And as it should have been, it was horrendous. Now, forget about it. Forget about it. Look, I'm from Brooklyn now. Forget about it. Okay? It was like they were using that, like, just here. It was trans. Trans people are bad. Trans people are bad. That's what they want you to think, right? Again, back to that whole, yeah, I'm sure there is certain people within a community or a group or whatever that are horrible people. But as you can see, they always try to take those people and then apply it to the whole community. Like white people, for example. Some of them are racist. I have met some of them. So I can with definitive certainty tell you I believe that to be true because I have met them. Does that mean that all white people are racist? No, because I've met white people that are not, myself included. So, but that often gets applied to the entirety of the group. Okay, we can go on and on and on about stereotypes that often get applied to the entire group. Okay. So back to what I was saying, that Annunciation shooting happened right before the Charlie Kirk shooting. That's why I was saying before too, think about the timing of these events. It's like you're conditioned, certain things start to happen. Again, I can't prove any of this. It's all speculation. It's just, I don't necessarily believe in coincidences, especially when they happen to continue to repeat in certain patterns. Like you're starting to see the pattern of these things in which the timings of which they happen. So we have the Annunciation shooting, which happened, I don't know, I think it was like a couple weeks before, maybe like the month before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And then of course, how perfect is it that it happened to be a gay, trans, furry loving guy? The narrative couldn't be more perfect, right? Because it's exactly who you would think it would be. Especially given the fact that there was just a trans shooter who shot up a bunch of kids at a Catholic church. That's what we're being told, like, oh, they have a mental illness. They're known for being dangerous. They're the left is so dangerous. Gosh. You hear, Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh all day long. The left. Okay, all right, we get it. They're dangerous. They're horrible. You should, clutch your pearls and stay away from them. Get some holy water. They're awful, right? So that's all you hear, and then all of a sudden, boom, assassinated. And then, of course, who's the shooter? Exactly who you would think it would be. Coincidence? Weird. The timing of it all weird. And then, of course, once he's assassinated, do we hear about the Annunciation shooting or the victims ever again? No, we don't. And we still haven't. I mean, do you guys remember, like, all of the, like, magazines? The guy wrote on there, like, oh, like, I don't know. It was crazy stuff. Like, I'm not even going to repeat it because it was insane. But you can go back and look at that story if you want to and go look at that. But has that been investigated? Has that been updated? Maybe I'm just out of the loop. Like I said, we do get put into these echo chambers and mine is probably different than yours. But I haven't seen it. I haven't seen an update. They said they were going to be investigating it. They were going to try to figure out, did he have a manifesto? Like, why was he writing all these things on his gun? And what was going on here? And why did he choose that church? And what happened? But then, of course, Charlie Kirk gets assassinated. And that story and everything about it is just gone. We don't know. And it just I feel so bad for the families and the victims that just got tossed aside. I mean, they were used as like political pawns and their stories just swept under the rug, never to be covered again, apparently. And I do hope, I mean, I can't say that they have or not. I'm not in contact with these families. I did donate to one of their GoFundMes, I believe, around that time. So, but I haven't been keeping up with them. I just wish them well and peace. And I think they probably more than anything would like to just be left alone and be at peace. But I do hope that at least for their sake, and that they have been in contact with the authorities and have gotten some type of, hopefully some sort of answer for some closure or some information just to kind of understand what had happened. But yeah, for everyone else, I don't know if you've noticed, we don't hear about it anymore. But leading up to the Charlie Kirk assassination, that was all we heard about. And it was just anti-trans everywhere. That's all you heard. So of course, naturally, that was who killed Charlie. And I think that they thought that was going to cause anarchy. They thought they're like, that's going to be it. People are tired of it. They're mad. We're going to see some friction here between the parties, between people, maybe even a civil war. I don't know. But, and I'm proud to say as an American, that didn't happen. There was some very disgusting things that happened. I saw people celebrating what had happened, and that's just disgusting. I want to say this, and I want to be very clear when I say it. If you celebrate anyone's death, whether you believe it's justified or not, because we can say on paper there's justified deaths. There's people who, they were tried in trial and they went on to, they got sentenced to death row, and it was like, on paper, I'll never say it's justified. In my moral opinion, I don't think it's right to kill anybody. However, per the law, there's a legal justification to sentence someone to death. To find enjoyment in somebody losing their life there's just something wrong with that. Just sits wrong with me. There's a difference between finding closure or letting a chapter close and just being okay with it and just being like, okay, it's done, it's over, that had to happen, and maybe you're not necessarily like sad about it, especially if you're like the victim of somebody who that person had harmed or whatever. That's totally understandable. But I would say, especially for somebody who hasn't been personally affected in like a severe deathly way or anything like that by a person, especially if they've never physically harmed you in any way, to be excited, joyful, gleeful, celebratory in any way, shape, or form, or even just mentioning, like just making a post and saying like, oh, well, I'm not celebrating, but you can't be, I'm not celebrating, but I'm not gonna say that I'm sad either. It's like, okay, yeah, but the fact that like you're making a point to even mention that just tells us all what you think. Like, you didn't have to say that, is my point. Like, if you're gonna go out of your way to say that you're not sad about someone dying, you know what I mean? It's like, just say what you really mean without saying what you really mean, because we can all see what you mean, right? So if you celebrated Renee Good's death, if you celebrated Charlie Kirk's death, if you celebrated Alex Pretty's death, absolutely will we never, ever be on the same side as that. Like, I just cannot relate. They were all human beings. They all made their choices. They all made their decisions. Did they deserve to die the way that they did? Absolutely not. Neither of them did. So if you think one did and the other one did, no, none of them deserved that. Nobody deserves to be shot down like a dog, especially in the way that they were. Okay? That's it. That's it. In the words of Erica Kirk, that's it. Okay? So yeah, back to what I was saying though. He gets shot right after we have all this media about, being, anti-trans or whatever. And then we don't hear anything more about the Annunciation shooters or anything like that. And then I seen people being, celebrating Charlie's death, which I think was absolutely awful. But what I did not see was civil war. Nobody burnt down the city. There wasn't anarchy. There wasn't fighting. I mean, there was maybe verbal fighting or whatever. But I just didn't see that. And I was very proud, and I am still very proud of my country and my people to know that we didn't do that. Now, fast forward, now we're seeing the opposite. Now we have ICE agents shooting citizens, right? Now we're starting to see some friction. We're starting to see protests and, some more violence. We have not seen a complete and utter civil war yet at this point. Hopefully we never do. But it almost seems as though that's what they're trying to do. I don't know if it seems like that to anyone else. I mean, these are the questions that I have. I have so many questions. Why does it seem, like I said, I don't believe in coincidences. Why does it seem like the perfect person just so happened, to fit the exact narrative that would be exactly who people would think it would be, that would assassinate Charlie Kirk? And then, of course, the flip reverse of that would be an ICE agent shooting and killing exactly who you think they would, for no apparent reason other than maybe fearing for them lives. Oh, and then, of course, we're going to talk about the perfect person to be the one to do it. How about the fact that this person, I don't know, I think his name was John or something, the guy who shot Renee Good. What a coincidence. Again, I don't believe in coincidences, but what a coincidence that he was 6 months prior to that. What was he he got his arm or his coat or something caught in the door and was dragged. He was dragged by somebody trying to do he was trying to detain somebody, and car dragged him. So what a coincidence. This just so happens to be the same officer or agent, whatever you want to call him, that has that run-in with Renee. Coincidence? I think not. It also is kind of weird that he almost intentionally put himself in front of her car. I don't even want to say the word almost. That's what it looks like. He intentionally put himself in front of her car. Which is weird, considering you'd think he'd be a lot more careful or even more fearful and would probably give himself plenty of distance, considering he was dragged 6 months prior by a car, right? Because what a coincidence that's the guy that gets, shoots in self-defense. And then, of course, media is playing on our emotions. Well, just 6 months ago, he was dragged. There was an illegal immigrant, and he took off and dragged our precious ICE agent officer. So can you blame? You can't blame him for being afraid. So of course you have people that are glued to their TVs and watching the same people in their echo chamber see that and go, well, yeah, I can't blame them, and I don't blame them. They clutch their pearls and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so sad. I can't believe that. Of course. Okay. Well, now I understand why he would do that. Oh, absolutely. It didn't look right at first, but now that you're telling me this, I think, he was in the right. Yeah, no, I'm not, look, folks, we're going on 45 minutes here. Am I crazy, or please, somebody tell me that you are noticing this stuff. I can't be the only one. Am I the only one who is what the heck is going on? Is it not obvious to everyone else that something is weird? The timing of when these things are happening? the manner in which they do, the coincidences that just so happen to be perfectly in place to fit a certain narrative. I don't know, you tell me. Tell me in the comments what you think. Right? Because that's why especially because like people like Candace and Barron and all these people and Wolves in Finance and whatever, when they're asking these questions, I'm like, hey, I want to know the answer too. I thought that was weird too. And then to see them get routinely attacked from bots and other platforms, and then even just like the everyday person, usually because they've decided, they've picked a side and they're sticking to it no matter what. It's just to see them constantly get attacked, it makes it worse for me, because when I see that happen, like I said in my last video, pay attention to who you can't criticize. So these are my things, like these are my takeaways. Pay attention to the timing of things. Pay attention to the timing. Pay attention to the patterns in which they happen. Pay attention to, what are we talking about that is slowly getting louder and louder? Like you start hearing these little things, like we're hearing quiet civil war, Israel, bad, EP files, right? We're hearing these things that off in the distance, and then all of a sudden they start getting louder and louder and louder. Everybody's talking about it. Every influencer, every platform, every media outlet. So pay attention to the timing and the pattern. Pay attention to the coincidences. Do you think they're coincidences? Sometimes it is. Sometimes coincidences just happen. I don't believe in coincidences, but that's not to say that sometimes things don't just naturally happen. So yeah, timing, patterns, coincidences, and pay attention to who the new scapegoat is. That's what it is. The person that they want you, the person, entity, country, whatever it is, that's the new thing to be upset about that isn't the government or anybody in the EP files, for example. Whatever it is, that's the new scapegoat. Pay attention to the new scapegoat. Pay attention to who's telling you to be upset at the new scapegoat. Pay attention to how many people are telling you to be, because it's gotten to the point now where I'm like, if you guys are going that way, I'm going this way. If you guys are going this way, I'm going that way. If you go up, I'm going down. Wherever everyone else is going, count me out. Because it never works out. You know what I'm saying? At some point, we end up finding out, maybe several years down the line, like, oh, we were wrong, and that was wrong, we shouldn't have did that. Not to tie in, of course, the Holocaust, because I feel like that gets tied in and brought up in everywhere and everything, and is compared to everyone and everything, but again, there was a time where people were like, oh, this is the direction we're going, and this is okay, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, that got out of hand, and that was not okay, and should never happen again, right? So, just pay attention to that. Pay attention to who is the new scapegoat. Is it immigrants? Is it the Somalis? Is it Philadelphia? Who are we mad at today? Are we fighting? Am I mad at you? Are you mad at me? Did I say something wrong? Did I make you upset? Because I think the reality is, I think the truth is that if we start talking to each other, if we talk with the Jews, if we talk with the Somalis, if we, and by we, I mean Americans, if us collectively, if we talk with the immigrants and the scapegoats and actually have these conversations, that's what they don't want. They don't want us having these conversations. Because then we'll see like, oh, you're not who they, like, for example, I'm sure there's plenty of people that are like, oh, well, you're very nice. You're not racist. Like, no, I'm not. They just want you to be mad at me. I'm not racist. Like I said in my first video, I love everybody, and I mean that. I do. I care deeply about other people and animals, and it's just who I am naturally. Sometimes to my own detriment, really. And I don't hate anybody. And so with that being said, we need to start holding the people that need to be held accountable. Stop getting distracted. That's the thing. I don't know what the point of releasing the EP files is right now. If it's to make us upset with Philadelphia, if it's to distract us from what's going on with ICE, or if ICE is being used to distract us from the EP file. I don't know. Was it the chicken or the egg? Which one came first? I couldn't tell you. For all I know, none of it's related, and we're actually being distracted from something much, much worse. Which honestly, in my honest opinion, is the truth. I think that there is something so much worse that we don't even know about yet. And that's my point. We gotta stop fighting each other. Okay? That's not to say that we all need to get together, hold hands, sing Kumbaya, and, the whole yada yada, love your neighbor. Yes, love your neighbor, of course. Respect your neighbor, sure. If you don't get along with somebody, don't force yourself to, if they're not going to be respectful to you, I'm not saying that you have to, disrespect yourself by constantly going out of your way for people that are disrespectful to you. That's not what this is. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is that do not go out of your way any longer to put forth energy into being upset with or hating or rioting or protesting who they're telling you to do that to. Because as much as they try to pretend like you're doing something by doing that, like you're making a statement or you're a good person for doing that, I'm telling you right now, there is no right or left. The Republicans and the Democrats are two wings on the same bird. Okay? So believe it or not, as much as they try to make you believe that by you going out and protesting the ICE and everything, they try to make you think that that's affecting the Trump administration or the Republicans in some way, or even the ICE or the agent. It's not. If anything, they want you to do it. They want you to do it. Jake Lang is proof of that. He is perfect proof of that. He came here to agitate people. He is part of it. That's my point. Like, the fact that they're sending Nick Shirley out, the fact that they're sending Cam Higbee out, the fact that Jake Lang was out ruffling feathers, that's what I'm trying to tell you, is that, and of course it did, right? So they want you to believe that you're actually doing something, but in reality, you are doing what they want you to do. You're giving them talking points. You're giving them things to talk about. You're giving them reasons to justify not listening to you. And if you think that they're playing the full clips on their show, they're not. They're not showing the truth. They're not, and both sides do it. Both sides do it. Both sides show what makes their side look better. And so then that's why you have this constant fighting, right? It's always right versus left, black versus white, and now apparently it's Goyim versus Jew. I'm done with it. I'm not versus anybody. Like I said. And I would argue that most people are the same. So stop feeding into it. We have got to start recognizing that they really don't care about you. It really doesn't matter if you vote left, if you vote right. You still can't own a home. You can't afford it. And they tell you it's your fault. Well, maybe buy less Starbucks. By the way, maybe you should stop buying less Starbucks. I'm not saying that's the reason you can't buy a home. I think it's bad for you. Look into their ingredients. Look into their background. Look into the logo that they chose for their restaurant and why they chose it. I'm not going to go into that. I can make a whole episode on how I feel about Starbucks in a later time, but make your coffee at home out of spite. Put them out of business. As a matter of fact, you should be doing the best that you can to learn skills that don't make you rely on corporations. Stop spending your hard-earned money that you barely have enough of anyway now to make these corporations even richer so they can keep their boot on your neck. I mean, how many of these corporations, Starbucks included, do you think donate to these campaigns? Right? So, like, these are things that we need to start thinking about. Think about who, follow the money. You want to know who follow the money. Look at who is donating to these campaigns. Look at who is donating to these religious groups. Look at what religious groups look at what religious groups are donating to what campaigns. I'll take it a step further and say, look at what companies or entities are donating to certain food companies. Like the American Heart Association, for example. Okay, and then you have Coca-Cola donating to liberal-funded campaigns. Why? Well, because a lot of Coca-Cola is bought off of EBT recipients. And that's not to say that people who are on EBT can't buy Coca-Cola. Hey, at the end of the day, free will, choice, whatever. I don't, do I necessarily think that people's taxes need to pay for it? Not necessarily, but at the end of the day, I don't get to control any of that. And they're just using that as a way to make you upset. Okay, so I don't think that people should be, if you're asking my actual opinion, I don't think anybody should drink Coca-Cola ever. It's horrible for you, and it's causing a lot of health problems for a lot of people. So again, that can be a whole nother episode at a different time, because that's just like, woo. We've been talking for almost an hour. I've been talking for almost an hour as it is. So, but yeah, back to my point here. Got off the rails a little bit. Gotta reel it in. But that's my point. Start following the money. Start asking these questions. Who's funding who? Why are they funding them? Who benefits from it? Again, back to my first episode. Who benefits from the chaos that is ensuing? Right? Who is supplying? Who is like, you want to take like the current state of affairs right now, like with ICE protests and everything. I haven't looked into any of this. I'm asking genuine questions, like who's the makers of like the tear gas things that they're throwing? Right? I'm sure they benefit from people using more tear gas. I'm sure people are benefiting from the people who make the gas masks. I'm sure people are benefiting from all of the gear and whatever is going on. And then I'm sure there's people that are benefiting politically as well. So those are the questions we have to start asking. And until we start asking the right questions, and until we start placing the blame where it accurately and properly belongs, then I'm sorry to say, guys, but like, I'm afraid like a lot of people are I mean, I don't even know. I don't know what's going to happen if we don't come together and realize that we are not fighting each other. Like we are not fighting each other. And we need to stop letting them tell us that we are fighting each other. And I'm not saying that means that you shouldn't stand up for yourself, and you have the right to, let me say this, you have the right to protest. That is your amendment right. Go ahead and do it. Do it peacefully, and understand that if anybody steps on that right, I am with you. 100%, it's wrong. And it needs to be condemned, and it needs to stop. But what I am saying is that we need to stop starting out with the narrative or with the mindset that we are divided. We can't be divided. We can't. You guys, come on. We are a nation of immigrants. We are human beings. We are Americans. Some of us, our families have been here for generations, have fought and died for these rights. Do you mean to tell me that they fought and died, or fought and served and got injured or whatever for nothing? So that we can fight each other while our government is out here, at the government officials and whoever else is, the elites are over at some island taking advantage of some children? Because I can guarantee you they did not. And the only way that they're going to be held accountable for this is if we start to realize, like I said, the patterns, stop feeding into the narrative. If they're telling you to be mad at JP Spears for his video about Eric, he is a comedian. That's what he does. If you don't like it, turn it off. Okay? You don't need to argue with your neighbor about it. As a matter of fact, I wish we could go back to the times where we didn't even discuss politics. It was so taboo. You never knew who someone voted for. It was not a thing. We should go back to that. Let's go back to that. Because, truthfully, and I think Baron Coleman, shout out to Baron Coleman for saying this, because he said it beautifully and accurately. He said, if you fall down and you're hurt and something's wrong, I am not going to run up to you and ask you, are you a Republican or a Democrat? Okay? I don't care. If you are hurt or something bad happened to you or something, like, I am not going to be like, okay, well, your leg is broken. All right, who did you vote for? No, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If you are in harm's way, if I see that you're about to get hit by a car and I see that you're wearing a MAGA hat, I'm not going to ignore it because you're wearing a MAGA hat. I'm going to come up to you and I'm going to say, my brother in Christ, you're about to get hit by a car. Let's go. Let's move. Equally so, if you're out there and you got a F-Ice jacket on and you got blue hair, whatever, the traditional stereotype, I'm just using stereotypes so that you get what I'm saying, and you're about to get hit by a car or you're about to get shot, I am going to put myself in harm's way to alert you, to try and help you. Okay? I don't care who you voted for or supported. And honestly, at this point, I would like to know. I would like to do a test run. You know how Trump was like, oh, get to the voting polls early. And so then it can't be rigged. Like, let's just come out in massive numbers so it can't be rigged. I don't know how to make this happen, but I would love to make it happen where we have a poll of people who literally said they didn't vote. Like, I think we should just not vote. We should just not vote until this is fixed. And by fixed, I mean people who need to be held accountable are held accountable. And we start holding real elections, real, fair, actual elections, and people who we actually elected are elected. And we just start from the ground up. But until that happens, until we have a complete reset of whatever the heck is going on in Washington, until that happens, we should just do a complete opposite of that whole, like, hey, get to there early, like, make it known so that it's obvious who won. We should make it known that it's obvious we're done. We're done. And we should, because, and just to see, like, is it real? Do you guys actually care who votes, and is it rigged? I'd like to know. Because if we have every single American saying that they didn't even vote, yet somehow they come up with a winner, but that would never happen, because if all of us regular people didn't vote, then all you would have is the elites voting, and they would just get what, at the end of the day, they're going to get who they want in there anyway. Right? They're going to get who they want in there anyway. With or without us. So, I hate to be cynical. Sorry, guys. Sorry. But it has to be said. I'm sorry. These are the things. Nobody wants to talk. I gotta get going. But nobody wants to talk about this kind of stuff. That's my point. Nobody. Everybody wants to, you know, they're like, hey, as long as I can afford to grab my beer after work and watch my favorite show or whatever, whatever. That's all I care about. But it's like, you know what? Don't you want to actually live your life? Don't you actually just want to be able to spend more time with your kids or your family or your loved ones for once without it costing, like, everything? Wouldn't you? Anybody else just tired of the fact that, like, you almost have to have two incomes now? Like, if you wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, you just can't. How feminists and women have completely just, don't get me wrong, like, the first wave feminists, like, that was like, yeah, cool, great. Like, I think, you know, it helps for women to be able to have a job or whatever, especially when they get into situations of abuse, you know, because there's a lot of cases where women couldn't leave traditionally because they're, you know, again, this can be a whole nother video. We'll go into that, but now we're seeing it, like, it went so far, like, the government basically just took it. Again, that's another question I have. It's like, was that manufactured? Did they take an honest movement that just wanted a little bit more fair treatment for women and took it and was like, hey, we're going to figure out a way to profit off of the backs of women? Because that's what they're doing. They're profiting off the backs of women. Meanwhile, we have to work full time along with our spouse in order to get ahead. Maybe even if that, some people still can't. That's just to keep the lights on. And kids have to be, you know, sent to their government funded school, learning all of the curriculum that the government has decided, while their parents are slaving away. Right? Is that what we want? Is that what we are now? My point is, like, if you want to have a job and you want to work, go ahead, do your thing. But my point is that, like, you should be allowed to make that choice. People should be allowed to stay at home if they want to, and it not cost them everything. Like, they shouldn't have to sell a kidney or, you know, not have any children, or be forced to not have as many children as they wanted to. And that's not to say that, like, if you can't afford children, you should start having children. No, like, if you want children, you need to be able to afford it. You need to figure out a way to do that. But that's the thing, is, like, that should be affordable. Having a family should be affordable. And that's why I'm like, what do you want me to be mad about? You want me to be mad about Israel? You want me to be mad that they don't respect me or think of me as the same as their level? Fine. Cool. Hold them accountable for all the PDF file crap. Hold every person accountable for it. I don't care what they think of me. I don't care their reasoning for being a PDF file. If their reason was to be like, oh, well, it's to get all of those goyim, they mean nothing, they're nothing, whatever. Okay, fine. Great. I don't care your reasoning behind why you're a messed up person. I just want you held accountable. And that goes for every community and entity and whatever. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, that whole entire group of people, based off of what this person is saying, or what their group was saying and doing to people that they thought were less than, I'm not going to apply that to their entire society and think that they all think like that about me, because they don't. Meanwhile, so you want me to be upset with an entire community of people based off of the actions of a certain group of people. Meanwhile, I'm not supposed to ask questions or criticize my own people about the fact that, like, I can't afford to have a house, a family, food. We're all struggling. People are getting shot in the street for expressing their First Amendment right. Like, don't tell me who to be mad at right now. I refuse to be distracted. I refuse to me, that's the equivalent of bending the knee. That's like, okay. That's why you see these talking heads, people like Matt Walsh or Michael Knowles or whoever, all the people, you know, Sean Hannity and whoever else, all the people on the left too, like, you see them constantly saying the same things. Oh, well, the left are violent, and you see, oh, well, the right they're racist and they're anti-immigrant and they, whatever. It's the same thing over and over and over of who they want you to be mad at. And I'm just like, I'm not. No, you might. And the thing is, too, keep in mind, those people are getting paid to do that. They're getting paid to do that. I think most of them pretty good money, too. They're getting paid quite well to regurgitate whatever Ben Shapiro or Donald Trump or Bibi or whoever is paying them to say what they're saying. They are getting paid, and quite well, mind you, to tell you this stuff. You, on the other hand, are regurgitating what they've said to you. And not only are you not getting paid, but you are literally probably struggling like the rest of us. The rest of us goyms, if they want to call it that, right? So, yeah, they might be forced, you could call it that. I don't know if they're like willing. I mean, they're obviously willing participants, but it's because they're being paid. If they weren't being paid what they're being paid, they wouldn't sell themselves out to say nonsense the way that they do. Meanwhile, everyone else, every regular person is literally doing it for free. Like, you are licking them boots. And I mean both boots, not just Donald Trump's. Maybe Kamala's, maybe Biden, whoever. They're getting licked. Clean. The cleanest boots I've ever seen. And you're doing it for free. So keep that in mind. These people, yeah, they're going to keep talking at you. Because they get paid to. So, like I said, follow the money. Pay attention to patterns, coincidences, and who they're telling you to be mad at. More importantly than anything, just pay attention.